Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you had a good week. Today is the 22nd of July, 2022, and this is your Friday planning video. Another big week in the market, another chance to refocus on our long-term goals. There have been many of you in the past few weeks that asked me to remind you, you are long-term investors. Here's your reminder, long-term investing. Let's talk about a few hot items, then let's hit on the next part in our multi-part series on education funding. Calling all student loan holders. Yes, remember those loans that have been frozen for the better part of 2 years? They're coming back online. Starting August 31st, they return to normal and the interest rate that you had resumes. If you did not take any action during the past 2 years, let me know if you want to talk about them. Certain options you may have. I'm also going to add the link to the coffee chat that we did from March of 2021 about the loans and the options you may have. Again, this always is subject to change based on what's going on with the government. 3 quick notes on the loans. First, hopes that they will be forgiven may be waning. Not enough votes to make that happen at this point. It seems that any executive action probably will lead to fights in the courts. Second, if you have the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Plan, you know who you are. Apply before October 31st. The program has had problems. 98% of applicants were rejected, but they're working on it. Finally, in case you have just started watching these videos, news for you. Interest rates are going up. So if you need to refinance, talk about it soon. On one other note, before we go back into education, based on the current CPI running the highest it's been in 40 years, the Senior Citizens League, a nonpartisan senior group, is estimated that the cost of living adjustment to Social Security in 2023 can be as high as 10.5%. That is big, and that's on top of the record 5.9% increase for 2022. That may change if we're right and inflation does calm. We'll just have to see how that goes. Okay, let's move on to a few more notes on education planning. As we started the multi-part series last week, today I want to hit on a few of the pros and cons of the headliner from last week, 529 College Savings Plan. This week we'll do pros, next week cons. Please check them both out. There are both sides of the story on this one. As I mentioned last week, there's a 15-minute webinar recording that is available that I did with our team at Columbia Management last year on my YouTube site. I can also send you the link again. It was in last week's email. We all know that college is a major expense. If you're thinking about opening a 529 for your child or grandchild, let's go over some of the pros and cons. The top of the list is in the tax department. As you know, I do not give personal tax advice, so please consult your tax advisor about this. These are rules that are tricky for a lot of reasons. Most importantly is that they're usually state specific, so please be careful to check all of this about your individual state. Simply put, the investments in a 529 plan grow on a tax-deferred basis and the distributions are tax-free when they're used to pay qualified education expenses. This includes tuition and fees, books and supplies, and some room and board costs. In many states, not Illinois, but you can use $10,000 per year for K through 12 education. You can also use up to $10,000 per year to pay off student loans. Other tax benefits, again, state-specific, can be that many states exclude qualified distributions from taxable income. That's state taxable income. And some may even offer state tax deduction or state income tax credit for contributions. There are residency requirements for the tax benefits, but here's a good time to note that you are not required to use your state's plan. The tax benefits will vary depending on what plan you're using and if it is your home state or not. Next on the list of pros, low maintenance. Many of these plans allow for automatic investment plans from your bank or even payroll. The investments can be chosen to set to change as your child gets older. Note that even if you wanted to actively manage your plan rules prohibit multiple changes per year. See the plan for details on that. Also, high contribution limits. As I mentioned last week, there's no annual contribution limit to a 529 plan, and even the aggregate limits are very high. Individuals do have limits for their annual gift exclusion, so $16,000 per person is the max in 2022. You can also give 5 years worth of gifts at once. $80,000 can be those 5 years. It can be 5 years of those $16,000 gifts and given all at once in 1 year. You can't give for the next 5 years, but that money is out of your estate and it is invested already. Financial aid is also affected. The good news is that the plan is reported as a parental asset as long as the student or the parent of the student is the owner. It will have relatively minimum effect on financial aid eligibility. Distributions from the plan that are owned by the parent or owned by the student, those plans are not counted as income for the FAFSA form. Finally, for today, the plans are pretty flexible and offer benefits no matter what your household income is. As I mentioned, you can invest in almost any state's plan no matter where you live or where you want to go to school. Okay, make no mistake, there are cons too. to keep this from getting too long, please come back for the next part next week. Just to give you a tease, the issues that we'll note next week will be about the limited investment options, the possible state tax recapture, and the non-qualified withdrawals. By the time we're done next week, you'll be able to better determine if these plans are for you. Between this information and a consult with myself and your tax advisor, you should have what you need. Until then, please reach out and let me know if you have questions about this or any of the other planning ideas we're speaking of. Come back Monday for a market update video from a special location, and we'll finish the 529 information next Friday. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.